Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Irene and I'm currently studying to be a registered dietitian with a master's in public health. And today I want to talk about intermittent fasting. So you've probably already heard of intermittent fasting before. There's lots of books, podcasts, videos, and news articles about it, and also lots of influencers that have been talking about it as well. Or maybe you have an Aunt Sally or an Uncle Rick that has tried this before, and you're wondering if you'll gain any benefits from this or if this is just another fad diet. So to answer that question, I will be trying out intermittent fasting for a week myself and seeing how I feel about it and if I feel any differences, any benefits. And then I'll also be looking at the science to see if the proof is in the pudding and whether or not there is any scientific evidence to back these claims up. But before we get into that, I want to first go over what intermittent fasting is. So it's kind of what it sounds like. It is an eating pattern where you're cycling between eating and fasting periods. But then it gets a little bit complicated because there are many different types of intermittent fasting. So some of the more common types include alternate day fasting, modified fasting, time-restricted feeding, and religious fasting. And then it gets a little bit more complicated there because there's no standardized protocol in the science for any one of these types of fasting. So for example, with time-restricted feeding, one study could have an 8-hour eating window and a 16-hour fast, and another study could have a 4-hour eating window and a 20-hour fast. Now, both of these would be considered time-restricted feeding, but the results that you get from each one would be drastically different because in one of them, you're literally cutting your eating window in half. This is actually the type of intermittent fasting that I will be doing this week, and more specifically the 16-8 method, where I will be doing 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. And this is probably one of the more common types of intermittent fasting, at least among the general population, and what most people refer to when they say that they are intermittent fasting. And because of the way that my schedule works, I'm going to make my eating window from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and I'll be documenting some of my experiences and how I feel, as well as what I'm eating throughout the week, starting with Sunday.
I started off Sunday with some cereal for breakfast. My favorite is this Kashi Cinnamon Crisp cereal, which I had with some homemade pecan milk. And with it, I also had my daily matcha latte and some kombucha. And usually on Sundays, I go see my boyfriend and we hang out and eat, try new restaurants, etc. So with my eating window being cut short, I wasn't sure how everything would work, if I would have dinner or if I would just stop eating after lunch. But we ended up getting sandwiches from this deli shop. I got a tuna melt on sourdough, and my boyfriend got this ginormous sandwich that I forgot the name of. But while we were waiting to pick up our sandwiches, I found a donut shop a couple doors down, and we got some donut holes, which I had for dessert afterwards.
So it's like 9:15 now, and I just got back, and I kind of feel okay, slightly hungry, because I did end my eating window kind of around 2-ish, I think. We just binge watched a lot of TV shows, so I wasn't really thinking about hunger or anything, and I kind of feel okay today, but I guess I'll see tomorrow morning.
Of course, the next morning I had work, so I made my routine egg and cheese sandwich on sourdough that I always have before work. And I paired it with my matcha latte and kombucha as always. I kind of got off on a late start, so I had to rush to eat my breakfast. But then I got off work at 2 that day, so I had this kind peanut butter protein bar on my drive home. And then for dinner, I had this Bonza 4-cheese pizza, with of course a piece of Godiva chocolate right before my feeding window ended, and that concluded my Monday. On Tuesday, I made a Greek yogurt bowl for breakfast. I mixed in some honey and also topped it with some mangoes, chopped pecans, pumpkin seeds, and hemp hearts. I had it again with my matcha latte and kombucha. Then for lunch, my mom made some handmade noodles, so I had that with some bok choy and some tofu grounds. Then in the early afternoon, I decided to have a snack. And one of my favorites is this kettle corn popcorn by Skinny Pop. So I had some of that as I did some schoolwork, and I guess time passed by really fast, and I realized it was 3 already, so I went down to make my dinner. I roasted some Brussels sprouts and also baked some of this tortilla crusted tilapia that I got from Costco, and I paired it with some roasted sweet potatoes that I found in the fridge.
So I did just finish my dinner at like 3:35, so I did go a little bit over my feeding window time just because I started cooking dinner a little bit too late, and I think it's probably a little bit too close to my lunchtime, so I'll have to maybe readjust and reassess when I should eat lunch so that I space my meals out a little bit better. And also, I guess I shouldn't have any snacks anymore because I'm really full now after dinner. And the only reason why I ate it is because I know that if I don't eat something now, I will definitely be hungry at like 9 p.m. and then also hungry tomorrow morning. That wouldn't be good for my workout. I do normally do fasted workouts, but I'm not usually hungry in the morning first thing. So yeah, I'll check back in later this week.
On Wednesday, I had to work again, so I made my egg and cheese sandwich on sourdough as I always do. And of course, I had it with my matcha latte and kombucha.
It's 7:24 right now. I guess I have 6 minutes left until I could eat breakfast. I did notice that this morning I was a little bit more hungry than I usually am because I don't usually have such a long overnight fast. It wasn't like a huge bother, but like it was just something that I noticed. I kind of felt like I wasn't able to go as full out in my workout this morning, but that's okay.
After waiting until 7:30, I ate my sandwich and went to work. And if everyone could just take a moment to admire the cheese pull, yes, thank you. And after I got back, I had this vegetable biryani that I got from Trader Joe's as my dinner with a side of roasted Brussels sprouts. And then a beets brownie that I made a few days ago for dessert. For Thursday, I had another Greek yogurt bowl. Same deal here, except that I had topped it with some plum this time, along with crushed pecans, pumpkin seeds, and hemp hearts. Sorry for the fuzzy video here, it was super dark that morning and I forgot to change the settings on my camera. But I also had this with my matcha latte and kombucha as always. I forgot to film what I ate for lunch that day, so here's a picture of the Korean-inspired salad I had. I had some pan-fried tofu, roasted Brussels, roasted sweet potatoes, broccoli, kimchi, and fried egg on a bed of spinach. And for dinner, I had a sandwich on sourdough with avocado, spinach, and provolone to end my day. On Friday, I had a chocolate chip protein waffle for breakfast, and I topped it with some slices of banana, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, hemp hearts, and a drizzle of honey. And of course, again, matcha latte and kombucha. Then for lunch, I had some of this butternut squash ravioli from Trader Joe's with some tomato, spinach, mushroom, and vegan grounds. For dinner, I wasn't feeling super hungry, so I had some sticky rice that my mom had made earlier that day with the rest of the roasted Brussels. No surprise here, for Saturday, I made another Greek yogurt bowl topped with mango, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, and hemp hearts. And can't forget the matcha latte and kombucha too. Then for lunch, my mom made some homemade ramen noodles with a creamy mushroom broth. So I had that topped with roasted Brussels, pan-fried tofu, inari, and a soft-boiled egg. And because I had so much to eat for lunch, I wasn't very hungry by the time dinner rolled around, so this is very sad, but I had some cheese bread that my mom made to conclude my week of intermittent fasting.
So that was my week of intermittent fasting. Overall, I felt about the same, other than some increased hunger late at night and early in the morning. And then in terms of weight and body composition, I didn't see any changes. But I did only do this for a week, so it's pretty unreasonable to expect any drastic changes unless you're taking drastic measures, which I definitely don't recommend. Another thing that I do have to note though is that I found intermittent fasting to be honestly a little restrictive and annoying at times, because I had to force myself to eat when I wasn't hungry and I couldn't eat when I was hungry. And this goes against what I normally do, which is intuitively eat. And so not being able to listen to my hunger cues was a little frustrating for me. However, this is just a personal anecdote and how I personally felt about intermittent fasting, which should be separated from what we're about to talk about next, which is the science. I do just want to add a little disclaimer though. All of the findings that I'm presenting in this video are based on my own review of the literature and the studies that I've read. Obviously, I don't have time to go through every single article on intermittent fasting, and I'm by no means claiming myself to be an expert on this topic. I'm just a grad student trying to share some scientific evidence and my own personal experience with intermittent fasting for your entertainment and knowledge. So you probably clicked into this video to find out whether intermittent fasting could be beneficial for you. And some of the most commonly cited benefits include weight loss, improvements in body composition and metabolic biomarkers, reductions in chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease, and longevity. But does the science back these claims up? Well, the answer is yes and no. With regards to weight loss, most studies done on intermittent fasting have found there to be a decrease in body weight regardless of the type of intermittent fasting that was done. A systematic review of 40 intermittent energy restriction studies found intermittent fasting to be an effective method for weight loss, with an overwhelming majority of the studies producing weight loss and none producing weight gain. In a more recent systematic review of 27 trials, they found that intermittent fasting resulted in weight loss in all 27 trials, regardless of the changes in overall caloric intake, but the magnitude of weight loss varied quite drastically. So the consensus seems to be that intermittent fasting is a viable method for weight loss. However, whether or not intermittent fasting performs better or worse than other methods of weight loss, such as continuous energy restriction, remains unclear. In the first systematic review that we talked about, they reported that intermittent calorie restriction was not significantly different from continuous energy restriction with respect to weight loss, with only 3 studies finding that one resulted in greater weight loss than the other. Similarly, the more recent systematic review also concluded that of the 12 studies that they looked at comparing intermittent fasting to calorie restriction, equivalent amounts of weight loss were achieved in both groups. However, there are still other studies that have claimed that those in the intermittent fasting group did in fact lose more weight compared to the calorie restriction group. So whether or not intermittent fasting could be a superior method for weight loss remains unknown. On a similar note with body composition, most intermittent fasting studies have found a decrease in body fat. But some studies indicate that intermittent fasting may not provide greater body composition improvements compared to calorie restriction when you're controlling for the calories, and the calories in both the intermittent fasting group and the calorie restriction group are the same. But regardless, it does seem that most of the weight lost in intermittent fasting is in fat mass rather than lean muscle mass, which is what we want. It's just unclear whether or not intermittent fasting is a better method for fat loss compared to other methods. And that could be due to a variety of reasons, such as the lack of standardization in intermittent fasting protocols in the science, or just variations in individual biological responses as a result of different genetics, health status, or other individual factors. Next, let's look at metabolic biomarkers, or some of the key health indicators that doctors often look at. Some studies have shown that different types of intermittent fasting can help to decrease total cholesterol and triglycerides. One review looking at 37 studies found that intermittent fasting did indeed improve the lipid profile of most participants, but mentioned that weight loss, calorie deficit, and dietary quality also likely played a role in the improvement of the lipid panel. A separate review looking at intermittent fasting and continuous energy restriction found that there was little to no advantage over continuous energy restriction for improvements in cardiometabolic disease risk factors such as total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, triglycerides, fasting glucose, and insulin. Intermittent fasting has been studied as a potential treatment or supplement to treatment for a variety of diseases, including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. For type 2 diabetes, there have been mixed results regarding the effects of intermittent fasting, and more specifically in comparison to continuous energy restriction. Two separate reviews of intermittent fasting found that there were variable effects on peripheral and hepatic insulin sensitivity, with some studies finding a reversal in insulin resistance and others finding no improvement in insulin sensitivity. For cardiovascular disease, the common markers include lipid panels, heart rate, blood pressure, circulating levels of glucose, insulin, and homocysteine. And as mentioned earlier, for many of these biomarkers, participants on intermittent fasting often seem to show improvements. But these improvements may not necessarily be better than those improvements seen on energy restriction. In regards to cancer, there haven't been many studies done evaluating the effects of intermittent fasting on cancer in humans, but several case studies and preliminary trials have shown promising results in its ability to suppress tumor growth and also to improve cancer risk biomarkers, including insulin, cytokines, and inflammation-related molecules. And although there isn't a whole ton of research on cancer and intermittent fasting in humans, there have been numerous studies done on animal models that have demonstrated periodic fasting to be as effective as chemotherapy in delaying the progression of a wide range of cancers, and also in protecting normal cells from toxic effects of chemotherapy drugs while sensitizing cancer cells to the treatment. And as this is still a relatively new area of research in humans, we don't quite know what the effects of intermittent fasting are on humans and whether it may be more effective than continuous energy restriction, although a lot of these initial studies do look very promising. Even though intermittent fasting has shown some benefits for people with these diseases, if you have any one of these diseases and you're thinking about trying out intermittent fasting, please be sure to consult your doctor and or registered dietitian before doing so that they can help you in altering any medications if needed or provide any personalized medical advice. So with regards to longevity, something that a lot of people who try intermittent fasting are often after, the evidence is unclear. There aren't really any human studies studying the effects of intermittent fasting on longevity because that would be unethical. And of the animal studies that we do have, the results vary from protocol to protocol. Although alternate day fasting does seem to show the most potential for increasing lifespan, but that evidence is inconsistent. However, time-restricted feeding is now also beginning to be studied in its relation to longevity because of its connection with the circadian rhythm, which regulates DNA repair, DNA replication, and cellular growth, which are all very important in longevity and lifespan. So to briefly sum everything up, can intermittent fasting benefit you? The answer is a maybe. The evidence is still a little unclear, but it is trending towards a yes. We just aren't really sure about the magnitude in which it is beneficial or whether it is more beneficial than other things like continuous energy restriction. Although intermittent fasting likely wouldn't hurt you. But of course that also depends on a variety of factors including your age, gender, weight, health status, and things of that nature. A lot of the intermittent fasting studies done have been on white men. So if you're a woman or if you come from a different ethnic background and you may have different genetics, then it may affect you differently because you have different biology. But if you're thinking about giving it a go, it may be worth a try. Just know that it may not be for everyone. For me personally, I didn't enjoy it because I found it too restrictive. And normally on any given day, I will have an overnight fast of 12 to 16 hours, and that's perfectly fine with me. But having to force myself to fast for 16 hours every day and only being able to eat certain hours of the day, it just didn't work well for me. But I know this structure may work well for other people. But it also might just not be practical for you if you're working long hours. So at the end of the day, you know yourself best, and if you try it out and it works for you, great. I love that for you. But if you try it out and it doesn't work, that's okay too. You're not gonna die just because you didn't intermittent fast. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that somewhat brief review of the evidence backing up intermittent fasting and my personal experience with it. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and leave a comment down below telling me what video you would like to see next. Bye!